But it feels like an elephant shaking his big red trunk for the hell of it. We know that you feel
Thomas, we're back, my friend.
Alex in
Future
the house.
stars.
And you've been here before, Alex, but you've never been on the show. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
Oh, it's cool.
Well, what do you mean? Thanks for having me, Tom. Tom and Tony.
All right, fine.
We got something worked out, okay? So they're Yu-Gi-Oh cards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew they were Yu-Gi-Oh cards. My son guarded them like they were,
His eyeball.
oh my God, they were like his life back then. But did you ever trade anything other than financial products?
Listed product.
Yeah.
Listed
No.
products.
Like, you never, like, I want to say as a kid, but you are a kid. Did you ever trade anything like, I don't know, coins, kids don't trade baseball cards anymore, do they?
Sometimes, not
Sometimes.
not
But,
often.
like, maybe some kind of, like, magic cards.
No,
Did you ever play magic?
no.
No?
I've never traded anything else besides.
Anything else?
Nope.
So you just got, all of a sudden, Linda, could you throw up the art card on Alex for a quick second? We did a lot of research on you, just so you know. So you started trading at the age of 9.
Yeah.
And you learned about options in December of 2011. So let's go back. That's, 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And you started trading options in your dad's IRA.
Mm-hmm.
You have a massive collection of battle maps. What does that mean?
Yes.
What's a battle map?
Well, before I traded, I spent like 500,000 years studying different war battles and previous World War II battles, Civil War battles.
Oh, real battles.
Yeah.
Wow. And, I was always fascinated with battle maps and with battles. Because we grew up in an era where every movie we would watch would be like,
Sure.
old World War II movies and things like that. You didn't even get to watch. You probably haven't seen a lot of old World War II movies.
I've seen a few because I wanted to see them when I was little. Because a lot of
When
the
you
war
were little?
like,
Cute.
When like real little, like 5. But when what was it? I think it was when I was like 5 or 6. The new movies now, they're too violent and stuff like that. So I would watch the old ones because I wanted to see
the old
from the
ones were great.
movies.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then if trading doesn't work out, you're going to become a pirate. Which sea would you be? Anyway, so I'm fascinated. You started trading stocks when you were 9 years old.
Yeah.
What turned you on to it?
Well, when I was 8, I saw my stepdad. He was always like looking at the Dow and what the Dow's doing. So I started quoting the Dow for him. Like every day, the Dow did this, the Dow did this, and I was thinking, well, I keep quoting this, but what is it? So I go on and go on.
Where'd you quote it from? From a piece of software, from the newspaper?
I quoted it from, I think it was just like Yahoo Finance or something.
Oh, from
like
Yahoo
that.
Finance.
Yeah.
Because I used to have my daughter when she was little quote. I'd have her look at my screen. Did you have your kids look at your screen? And I'd have her quote me S&Ps at night, and just. Can you quote me S&Ps at night?
Of course.
Yeah, okay.
If they weren't in the direction I needed, they would say, you don't
I tried
want
to
to
teach her hand signals so she could quote me the S&Ps at night. So good. We all raised from the same cloth. Hey, so you start quoting your stepdad a bunch of like Dow information, then it gets to stocks?
Yes. I start looking at stocks and I'm like, okay, yeah. Oh, this is cool. I can actually like take a look at this and try to predict where it's going.
When you eventually, so you're 9 years old, you start trading stocks because your stepdad lets you, buy a few shares?
No, it was my dad.
Your dad. Okay.
I had to fund my own account.
You had to fund your own account when you're 9?
Yes.
With what money? You don't even have bar mitzvah money yet.
I had like, I was like all into the entrepreneurship thing. So I had like the money I want to put in my trading account. I had like $500 cash that I got from different things I've been doing. And I started trading.
Take a lesson, Bats. So $500, and when you say you started trading, like what was the first trade you made?
The first trade I made is I just bought stock.
I know, but what
Like,
stock you buy? You have to remember the first trade.
Into it.
You always
Into
remember
it.
your first one.
Yeah.
Into it.
Into it. So you bought into it, and did you make money?
I did. I made a little money, but with commissions, it's a tiny account.
Right. So how many shares of stock did you buy? Because into it was what, like a $25 stock or something?
No, it was more like $40.
Was it?
So maybe I bought like maybe 5 shares.
5 shares. You spent the 200.
Yeah.
And you rolled the dice and you made a few points on the stock, covered commissions, whatever it is.
Yep.
And then at that point, what were you bitten? You were like hooked?
Yeah, I was.
Were you hooked by the speed of what you could do on your own, or were you fascinated by the whole kind of like what we would call the whole capital market structure?
Just the capital market structure. Like, and at first what really got me hooked was the analysis part to it, where you would look, and now it's totally different from what I do.
What were you analyzing at the time?
I was looking at fundamentals of a company, but after a while I thought, it's just like, it's kind of boring. You have to look and wait for the long term and wait 7,000 years for the stock.
You don't have 7,000 years of patience when you're 10 years old.
No.
So it says on here that you decided at some point, because you're obviously trying to get a little more leverage, a little more speed up the process, you wanted to learn about options.
Yes.
So you took a class in 2011?
I did not. I just learned myself.
How'd you learn by yourself?
My dad has a friend who is also an options trader.
Okay.
And I think he may watch Tasty Trade, but I'm not really sure.
Okay.
But he told me a little bit about how they work, so then I go online, search. I've never read a traditional options trading book.
Wow.
And I've never read technical analysis books.
Okay.
I've read one book on like financial statements just because I was interested.
Sure.
Not because I want to use them to trade, but
Sure.
I have not ever had any classical.
So the first thing your dad's friend, whatever, turns you on to just information about options. And then what's the process? When did you think, from when you started in December 2011, like when did you make your first option trade?
I think I made my first options trade maybe a few months later. Like I did
What'd you do?
I bought stock and then I bought puts against it because I wasn't really aware of premium selling
okay.
yet. So I
So you
bought
bought
stock and bought
bought
puts. Yes.
So you had to buy over 100 shares of stock to buy put.
I didn't do that because I knew I was like, well, I'm not really super bullish in the stock, so I'll make it a little different, and I mixed it up.
So you bought 50 shares of stock and a couple puts? Did you have any idea what the relationship was between those puts and the stock, or did you just kind of do it in your head?
I kind of got that idea of the relationship, but I was able to do it in my head. Well, one put is 100 shares of stock, so I kind of looked at the deltas. And
Good. Now, at the same time, all your friends think you're crazy, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because I just want to make that clear, because you're at the time this means you're like 10 years old in 2011.
Yeah.
When's your birthday?
December 18th.
Okay, so yeah, you literally are 10 years old then.
Yes.
And you're trading, you're doing a married put when you're 10, buying stock, buying puts.
Yes.
Okay, so you are officially, Tony, crazy. This is, Tony's son. Yeah, my son, when he's 12, I told you he's missing the toilet seat. He's wide right by about 17 feet. And
We're still throwing Cheerios into the water. We got you. We understand where you are, though.
banging his head against the wall, trying to get out of that house. So I love this thing. So you're 10 years old. I mean, literally 10 years old. Did you make any money when you were 11?
I did, and I started making money right from the start.
Right from the start.
Yes, and then
little bits of money. I mean, let's be clear.
Yes.
We're not going to make it this.
Yes.
Okay, tiny bits of money, but on a percentage, probably pretty decent. But little tiny bits of money.
Yes.
And now were you able to get some more capital by convincing your dad or something that you're ready for? You want to do a little bit more?
Yeah, this is my first year trading an actual full-blown margin account. Before I was trading my dad's IRA.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I'm tired of this. We have to move to TD Ameritrade and so I can use Thinkorswim. I was trying to convince him probably for 6 months. Can we move to TD Ameritrade?
What does your dad think about you? I mean, with respect to trading. He obviously loves you as a son, but what does he do?
My dad owns like a little construction company.
Okay. So what does he think? So he owns his own business. He's an entrepreneur. What does he think about you, just being so deep and involved in trading?
Like he thinks it's cool. Like
he does.
What he said is, I know enough that I don't know anything. I realize I don't know anything. So it's like he's like totally. He doesn't really understand that. Like.
Listen, I wanted to drive my dad. I wanted to be a chauffeur. That's what I wanted to do when I was 10 or 12 years old. Just want to get old enough to have a license so I could drive my dad to and from work.
My dad was incredibly brilliant, but he also was pretty much a socialist who figured that every company in America was bad and you should never own a single company ever because it was just nothing that anybody should ever do is buy stocks. So I had to fight that whole mentality my whole life.
It's so funny because we were printing stock certificates in my basement.
I'm sure you were.
This
See,
is
it
funny
makes
how
sense.
things go wild.
But I love your story because, you know, obviously your parents are ridiculously supportive, and I only met your mom, but you know, ridiculously supportive of what you do. But you're the expert. It's very
Yeah.
hard when you're 11 years old to be the expert in something.
And sometimes I get like the worry, go outside, stop trading.
Do you hate
But
that?
but it's raining.
I get the same thing.
When I'm busy trading, it's always raining.
So so now you found a network of other kids. We had who do we have on the show? We just had
Julian?
Julian. Right, we just had Julian from Canada on the show.
Yeah.
And you're starting to make it's like he explained to us that it's kind of a global network.
Yeah.
There's almost, 20 some odd of you right now that are
Yeah.
hooking up and talking on Skype and, you know, talking over the internet and talking about the stuff you're doing. And it's so funny how your minds all gravitate to the mathematical side to this. Mm-hmm. Like, what are you starting? And the more you learn, like, what goes through? I mean, I know you send me a lot of emails, and I get to read kind of what goes through your head. But tell everybody what kind of like what a lot of your thought process is.
Like, I mean, I just do the same thing almost what you do. I take a look at the chart, but I'm like, yeah, it's like, I don't know. I don't really look at charts at all, but I just look at the options chain, take a look at the probabilities, you know, my risks, my delta risk, you know.
Do you know if we
Just
knew
very
what
simple.
you knew when we were 12, with the opportunities that we had, you're going to have a whole different set of opportunities. We had wide markets
Yeah.
and inefficient markets. And if we knew anything, seriously, anything, I can't even imagine what kind of damage. Well, we probably would have been dead by now.
Correct.
So that's the other part
It's
to
a
it.
good
But-
thing we didn't know too much.
Yeah, it's probably good. But I just
We were
think
just enough to make ourselves comfortable.
the opportunity that's ahead of you with respect to where you are kind of in this math chain, you're gonna find yourself in a conflicted situation through all the education, you know, routes that you're going to take all the way through grad school, because you're going to be in direct conflict with kind of traditional finance.
Like, I mean, as almost on my weekends, what I do is I'm watching these finance lectures about, you know, traditional finance, and it's stuff.
Does it drive you crazy?
Sometimes, yeah, it does, but actually it was a pretty good professor, and he was talking about options models and like how futures are priced and certain things like that, and this is cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I started paper trading the futures because he was the one who, I don't know who the professor is, but he was the one who pretty much taught me how futures work.
Cool.
Just from watching those. And I came to Tasty Trade, and you do these, the futures pairs, and they're cool. Like, I do a lot of pairs trading, but I have to do it through ETFs.
Right.
Because my account's small, and there's
Sure.
no reason to tie up that much capital in a future.
And it's not
So,
just even
it's
not
the
even
leverage.
It's capital. It's the leverage. It's the risk too. There's a lot of other aspects to it. But what's really neat is, to me, is that by the time you continue to do this throughout the years, and there's no doubt in my mind you will continue to do this, there's going to be a level of you'll make some breakthroughs.
Yeah.
You're going to figure out something. Bat, can I buy calls on him? Because you're going to, and I don't ever buy calls.
Your market's
I would sell puts.
1042.
Don't price yourself out of the market, young man. I'm at 40.
I would be selling
Done.
puts, of course.
I got a question for you. So now school's going to start in a couple of weeks for you?
Yeah.
So when you first talk to your math teacher about different things and you present him, because I don't know you, but I know how you think a little bit, and you present him with some sort of kind of game or something to get everybody else involved in your class and this type of trading, and he says, okay, well, you have to buy and hold for the long run. Are you going to realize you have an uphill battle? Are you going to try to do something on the side away from him? Or are you going to stick with the school?
I already get an idea of the battle I'm dealing with. I'm opening an investment club in 2 schools in my area, and I'm going to be doing it twice a week, so I have to figure out the material and the content, and also I have several other things involved with my trading. But I'm going to start teaching people, because the usual investment clubs is in schools look at the fundamentals of a company and look at balance sheets and cash flow and income statements and the PE ratio and price book, and then I'm going to change all of it, and it says, forget it, doesn't matter. Forget anything you've ever learned.
They haven't learned anything yet, though, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's the easy part.
They're not 50. They haven't learned anything. You're in good shape there. It's easy to change. It's easy to change something that doesn't exist.
Yeah. So I'm trying to teach certain people. And I probably have already maybe 12 or 15 people wanting to come.
That's incredible. You know, I tried to do it last year at a school here in Chicago, and we did. We had a small group, like a dozen or so, and we tried to just teach them kind of a new method and a discussion about investing. And it's so true. They had so much fun that math just hit them over the head.
Sure, especially when they realize that there's so many things that they can do. I mean, Apple being $450 is still within their reach with a small account.
Plus, Plus, it was real.
Mm-hmm.
When my son was your age, they had a school competition for picking stocks, and so all the kids came over. They figured that I would know something, so they all came over to my house one night, and they're like, "Okay, we want you to tell us what," because they figured that if they listened to me, they were a lock.
Sure.
So they listened to me. They came in last place.
Of course.
And they're like,
what else is new? You're kissing death. Hey, Alex, what are you looking around at over here? You think about someday I'm going to own all this? What are you doing over here
Yes, exactly. I'm going to buy out this place. It's going to be mine.
Mine, all mine.
I'm moving here.
Did you say, were you a kid that my daughter used to say, it's mine? Do you say mine a lot?
When I was little, probably. Not as much anymore.
What's your favorite go-to strategy right now? I know vol's low, but just talk about it more in normal terms. What are your favorite? You have a limited account. You obviously spend a lot of time in front of the screen. What are your favorite go-to strategies?
Covered calls and short puts.
Covered calls and short puts.
And I can, my account's big enough so I can.
Okay.
But
how have you? I know this has been a very mixed year because we've had this crazy rally.
Yes.
You're suffering like everybody else probably right now a little bit. Have you done, how'd you do when you were 11 and 12? I can't believe I'm asking this question, but how'd you do when you were 11? Were you able to have a positive return?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Since I was managing my dad's IRA account, there's limits. So I think because I pay a lot of attention to what I risk to make, so compared to the probability of success. But I'm looking at it, and my max loser was 3%, on a month, and then at the end of the year I made 15% on the.
That's awesome.
With
Total
the
portfolio.
cash limits.
That's awesome. Do you have a ratio in your head set up where, when you talked about your max risk to what you potentially can make, do you have because I talked about the other day, I just didn't put a number out there. Do you have a ratio that's that's almost a ratio stop in your head?
Yeah.
What is it?
When I'm taking a look at my trades, usually I'm hopefully going to risk 1 to make 2 or 1 to make 1.5 because
That's a mental stop.
Depending on the environment, though.
Okay.
Right here, it's almost 1 to 1, but sometimes it's 1 to 3 because in 2012, awesome environment, and then I did a whole lot better than that.
Right. I got it. And you should do a whole lot better because that's kind of that's the average measure, and you should outperform that average. How many positions do you have on right now?
20.
20.
Well, it ranges between 10 and 30, but with an average around 20.
Hey, kid, why don't you go sit over there, right? Hey, you.
Hey, you, the big kid.
Get over there.
No, it's around 20 different positions. This is fascinating. So many people are going to be fascinated by this discussion. It's probably fascinating because you're 12, but the depth of understanding. We've had lots of young kids. We've talked to lots of young kids about finance, but the depth of understanding. But isn't it so much easier because it is a numbers game?
Yeah.
Numbers are easy for you.
Yes. When I started looking at the technical analysis, I've never read a book on technical analysis. I've never had any normal traditional technical analysis trading besides shadow trader. But again, I'm not technical at all. And then because I was thinking, it's not quantitative. How can you measure it? And then I take a look at fundamental analysis. You can't measure that either. So how in the world can I figure out an approach where I can get the hard evidence and measure it and see how it does?
So you're suggesting that you don't believe past performance is an indication of future performance?
No.
Okay.
No.
And we did not set you up for that, okay, just in fairness. Everything. What's the game plan for, assuming you think markets will normalize like we do for the rest of the year, because we're not going to stay in this one directional market with virtually no volatility. Assuming markets normalize, what's your game plan for the rest of the year, and what's your game plan going forward? I mean, it's scary because you're so young, but where could you build this thing up to?
Well, I'm
skill wise, not money wise.
like I know, but I mean, I'm hoping to. Well, I have 70 years in front of me, considering how old I am, because I'm never going to stop trading. But skill wise,
so
I think I can get really good.
Are you in 7th grade or 6th grade?
I'm going to 7th grade.
You're going to 7th. Okay, perfect.
Be careful for the Joanne Perina in your class, okay? Don't want to make her go askew for your trading, okay?
Oh no, for sure.
Eye on the prize.
7th grade. Can you remember what you were doing in 7th grade other than stealing hubcaps?
Joanne Perina.
You were not doing. You were. I'm not going to go there. Alex, this was a great talk. I gave you an extra minute or so.
Yeah.
Oh, you're such a humanitarian. The child's 12, for crying out loud.
You're amazing. You're one of my heroes because I'm fascinated by the way you're able to articulate, something that took us way longer than 12 years to learn. Maybe
No, it took us about 12 years.
It took us a long time.
Of adulthood.
Now, again, we didn't have anything, which shows that the process can be, because people say to me all the time, they say, hey, it's ridiculous. It takes too long to learn this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying, we're shortening that process. We're shortening that process so you can learn this and you're a perfect, walking, talking example. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a good job out of you.
Thank you, Alex, for coming in. Appreciate your time.
Thank you,
We'll
Tom.
be back. Thank you, Tom, and
Oh yeah, Tony. Sorry.
friends.
Sorry.
We'll be back in 90 seconds. We got our bootstrapper Emerson Sparks is in the house. You'll see Get Taste on the Taste Trade Network.